Imagine a being that possesses exactly 99% of all possible knowledge and power. In our human experience, 99% is an A+. It's nearly perfect. But in the realm of the absolute, that missing 1% is a catastrophe. It represents a limit, a boundary, a defect. A being with a limit cannot logically be the source of all things. If it can be measured, it can be surpassed, and a God who can be surpassed is no God at all. This was the core of A.W. Tozer's argument, that for God to be God, he must exist entirely without bounds. This stands in sharp contrast to the way we often speak in modern culture. We've settled for the man upstairs, a relatable, friendly cosmic pal who is ultimately a projection of ourselves. He's kind, but he's compromised. By shrinking God down to our size, we've created a hollow version of faith. Recovering a sense of the divine requires us to move past relatable measurements and confront the most difficult concept in theology, infinitude. To understand infinitude, we have to stop thinking of it as a massive quantity. It isn't just a very large number. It is the absolute absence of limits, degrees, or boundaries. Measurement is the language of the created world, distance for planets, weight for ourselves, depth for the ocean. But God is uncreated. Apply human metrics to him, and the logic breaks. You cannot use a ruler to measure the inventor of length. C.S. Lewis provided a way to visualize this reality that moves us away from our reliance on space and time. Imagine a sheet of paper extending boundlessly in every direction. No edge, no corner, no end. This is the expanse of God's being. Now, a pencil marks a single 1-inch line on that paper. That inch represents the totality of time, from beginning to end. God doesn't inhabit that line. He contains the paper. This means humanity must abandon spatial thinking to truly find him. If we apply this rule of unmeasurability back to our 99% thought experiment, the logic holds firm. Fractions simply don't exist in an infinite being. To possess infinite power is to possess all power. To possess infinite knowledge is to possess all knowledge. There are no degrees of more or less in God. He is the absolute. Our brains struggle with this. We are finite creatures who live and die by the clock and the scale. Processing a reality without a single boundary causes a kind of intellectual vertigo. But infinitude isn't just a mathematical fact, it's a personal one. If God's being has no borders, then neither does his character. Boundaries usually represent external forces, laws or pressures that tell us what we must do. But with an infinite God, there is nothing outside of him to exert that pressure. He doesn't run the universe because he is bound by a moral necessity or a cosmic rulebook. He does it because he wants to. This realization changes everything. If God is infinite, then his pleasure and his joy are also without limits. He isn't a weary administrator. He is an enthusiastic creator. Tozer argued that creation and redemption were not heavy burdens God was forced to carry. They were expressions of a happy willingness, a divine energy that delights in its own work. We see echoes of this enthusiasm in the very fabric of existence. At the subatomic level, particles dash at speeds we can barely calculate. The universe isn't sitting still, it's vibrating with an inescapable energy. That same creative energy is what heals our own destruction. Look at these strip mines in Pennsylvania. Humans used massive machines to drag away the earth, leaving behind jagged industrial scars that look like open graves. But notice what happens when we stop. That tireless, fun-loving energy of nature begins to move. It draws a green veil over the gashes, healing the landscape with a relentless, enthusiastic growth that refuses to be dormant. This vibrant reality is often lost in our religious life. We've traded the infinite joy of God for a spirituality that is drab and somber. When we stop viewing God as a limited man upstairs, we stop viewing faith as a static insurance policy against the afterlife. Instead, it becomes a gateway into a life that never stops expanding. Tozer's journey into the heart of God is a journey into infinitude. Because God has no end, our discovery of him has no end. It's an invitation to an eternity of joy that is literally boundless.